Hi there, folks. I've got another 7.62 by 39mm ammo review for you today. And in this review, we're going to look at this Norinco commercial production ammunition. I generally refer to it as the Norinco yellow box ammo, kind of a yellowy orange box. This ammunition was made back in the 1990s, and you will occasionally see it pop up for sale. It'll show up at gun shows and so forth on occasion, so there was a lot of this manufactured and a lot of it sold, so it's not terribly uncommon to see it pop up for sale. This ammunition came 1,200 rounds to a wooden crate, and it was packed inside of a plastic bag inside the wooden crate. So the packaging is a little bit different than the surplus style of ammunition. It didn't come in the metal spam cans like so much 7.62 by 39mm ammunition does. So as you can see on here, it says non-corrosive steel case, and we'll talk about the non-corrosive part in a little while. And a 20-round box, kind of a plain Jane box. As you can see, this particular one has a French-English sticker over the back of it because it was sold in Canada by International Firearms out of Montreal, and there is a French labeling requirement for most products in Canada, so that was their solution to put the label over the back of the English only on the back of the original box. There's a look at the round itself. Have a look at the head stamp, and it's from Chinese Factory 311, and the production was 1991. So this is a steel case round with a copper wash, which is almost identical in appearance to Chinese military production 7.62 by 39. This is a steel core bullet, and it has a steel jacket, also with a copper wash on it. So we're going to look at some broken down cartridges today here, and then we're going to look at some chronograph and accuracy testing out at the range. Alright, let's have a look at the bullet that's loaded into this ammunition. As you can see, this is a boat tail bullet. It has a nominal weight of 123 grains, and it has a steel core, steel jacket with a copper wash over it. So you can see there's also some asphalt stuck to this bullet, because there is some asphalt used to seal the case necks of the cartridges, and some of it sticks to the bullets when you pull it out. Here's one with the sealant cleaned off it. I pulled 10 of these bullets out of the cases and cleaned the sealant off them and weighed them, and we ended up with the following data. We've got an average weight for these rounds of 122.2 grains, a low weight of 121.4, a high weight of 123.0, which gives an extreme spread of 1.6 grains, and a standard deviation of 0.4 of a grain. There's the individual bullet weights for each of the bullets which were weighed. So that's a fairly big extreme spread over 10 bullets, but this ammunition makes no pretense at being match grade. It is basically a bog standard ball type of loading. So let's have a look at a little closer look at the bullet itself. I actually sectioned one of the bullets with a Dremel tool, and here we can see the construction of the bullet. We've got the steel core in the center. There's a lead sandwich between the steel jacket and the steel core, and basically that's the construction of the bullet. I should be able to pull this apart for you here, show you the steel core by itself. So the steel core is really no attempt at making this round armor piercing. Basically what it does is it makes the round cheaper to manufacture, because steel is a much less costly and strategic metal than lead is. So using this steel core allowed the ammunition to be made much more economically. However, there are some drawbacks to using a steel core, and one of them is generally much poorer accuracy than a solid lead core would give you. So you can see it's kind of a blunted tip to this steel core. You can see the saw marks on it where I cut it apart. And here's a look at the other side of it, and you can see where the core fits in, and you can also see the lead sandwich between the jacket on the outside and the the lead core. Here's just the steel jacket by itself. You can see that the copper plating, or the gilding metal plating, is also on the inside of the jacket as well. You can see where it's crimped around the base. And we've also got a piece of the somewhat mangled piece of the lead, which is sandwiched between the core and the jacket. Now the purpose of the lead is basically to give something which will flex and sort of be plastic when the bullet hits the rifling. Otherwise a solid steel bullet would drive pressures incredibly high, so you need that lead there to squash and give a little bit so that the pressure does not become too excessive. And I guess one last look at the bullet, you can also tell it's got a very faint crimping candelure here for it. I guess we might as well weigh it, or sorry, measure it while we're at it. And fairly long bullet for its weight because of the relatively lightweight steel core. So it comes out, this particular bullet, at 1.046 inches in length. And the more important measurement to most of us is the diameter. So measured at the major diameter there, we get about 310, almost 310 on the money. So that's about exactly what you would expect to see for a bullet for a 7.62 by 39mm round. Alright, well, we'll move on next to the propellant that's in these rounds. And once again, I weighed 10 charges, and we'll dump the powder out of one of these rounds here, let you have a look at it. And it's sort of the typical 7.62-39 powder, a very short-grained, extruded style of powder, kind of an IMR style of powder. You know, probably in the burn range of 4198 or 4227, something along those lines, somewhere in that vicinity. And nothing too exciting about the powder charge. The powder weights over the 10 rounds, there are the 10 weights of the rounds I pulled apart. We've got an average of 24.1 grains, a low of 24.0, and a high of 24.2, so a very uniform powder charge in these rounds. An extreme spread of only 0.2 of a grain for a standard deviation of only 0.1 of a grain, so very uniformly charged rounds of powder. So we've had a look at the bullet and the powder. So the next thing we'll have a look at is the cartridge case itself. As I mentioned, this is a steel case, and it has a copper wash over it, which is meant to be a sort of a mild form of rust proofing. This is Berdan primed, and I've got a cartridge case here which I sort of cut in half. I didn't quite cut it completely in half. Cut down through the neck section. You can see the asphalt sealant, the remainder of it, is still stuck to the inside of the case neck here, and that's to waterproof the junction of the bullet and the cartridge case. And you can see that the copper wash continues down inside the round itself, or inside the cartridge case itself. And probably can't really see too well there, but there are two flash holes there for the Berdan primer. These Berdan primers are a 0.215 in diameter. I was unable to remove a primer successfully from one of these to show it to you, but anyway, I did give it a try. It didn't quite work out for me. And the factory code on this these rounds is 311/91, so 91 is the date of production, 311 is the Chinese factory code. There's some dispute as to how many actual factories there are in China that make this ammunition. A lot of people think that several numbers are assigned to one factory so as to make it less obvious as to how many sources of production that the Chinese had for their military ammunition. And anyway, I'm no expert on that, but there it is. So, as to the primer, the box may say non-corrosive, but don't believe it. This yellow box stuff is mildly corrosive. It may not be as corrosive as some of the military loaded ammunition, but I have seen rifles where the gas port was rusty a day or two after having been shot with this ammunition, so it's not as severely corrosive as some ammunition in this caliber, but it does not appear to be completely non-corrosive. Alright, so that pretty much does it for the benchtop portion of our review, and we'll move on next to some range testing. and we'll do some accuracy testing and some velocity testing as well on this ammunition. So stay tuned for that. Alright, here are the chronograph readings with the yellow box Norinco ball ammo. This is out of the Ruger 77 Mark II. Chronograph is about 8 feet in front of the gun, and it's about -8 today. Average speed of 23.33. Extreme spread of 79. Standard deviation of 23. And there's the 10 shots. Alright, here is a 10-shot group at 100 yards with the Ruger 77 Mark II using the yellow box Norinco commercial ammunition. Not an entirely bad group for a surplus style of ammo.